hasn't been a great time in the world of goaltending, and we are going to pay our respects today on this special episode of InGoal Radio, the podcast presented by The Hockey Shop. TheHockeyShop.com, source for sports Langley. We've lost a trio of Hall of Famers in a short time period, in Ken Dryden, Eddie Jacquemin, and now Bernie Parent. And today we are going to bring you an interview that we originally aired back in 2020 that David Hutchison and I conducted with Bernie Parent, and some great stories inside that conversation with the legendary goaltender with the Philadelphia Flyers, bringing the co-founders of InGoal magazine, David Hutchison and Kevin Woodley. Gentlemen, it's been one of those streaks, those runs of time where you're like, really? And you're reminded about, if you haven't talked to these gentlemen, you got to source the information and put it in writing, put it in podcast form or interviews while you can, because we're moving on and Father Time is undefeated.
And so unexpectedly, like I understand even many of Dryden's friends didn't realize this was coming. And so a shock when things like this happen. And it really rocks you when they're people that were part of your childhood, part of what introduced you to the game, and then ultimately lucky enough to meet a few of them. And it's been a hard few weeks, harder than I expected it to be, honestly.
Woody, it's in a way it helps educate the younger fan base, those that have been born and grown into our league and our arena of goaltending, just how accomplished these players were. Ken Dryden winning all those Stanley Cups, Bernie Parent, a small-statured goaltender, Eddie Jacquemin and his legendary performances with the New York Rangers.
Yeah, it makes me want to make sure that we get more of them on the air. Not just because, you're right, like a reminder of how great so many of these guys were, but also how different the game was. And yet, in some ways, every time we catch up with them, there are elements that are always the same, that haven't changed. So, maybe a bit of a reminder. I mean, we've had a lot of the greats on over the years. Glenn Hall, Hutch was able to go visit him at the farm. This interview with Bernie Parent. I think of Cesar Maniago last year and all the great stories that he had to tell about being there when Plante put the mask on for the first time. But almost feels like a bit of a sense of duty to record some of the history of some of these great goaltenders here on the podcast before we have moments like this. So the notes have been made. The requests are going out. Expect to see a lot more of the quote unquote older crew, hopefully appearing here at the InGoal Radio Podcast in the coming year.
Bernie Parent was a legend in the greatest hockey city in the world, in Montreal. Eddie Jacquemin was just the face of the New York Rangers for a period of time, and such a gentleman. And Bernie Parent, I dare say, transcended hockey. He is not just a Flyers legend and Hockey Hall of Famer, but he is a Philadelphia icon with the greats of the Eagles and the Phillies and the Sixers and Rocky in Philadelphia. He belonged in that company.
You remember that? I think I remember the mask over your right shoulder appearing on the cover of Time magazine, Darren.
Yes.
And I think, although it was you two that did the interview, listening to it and talking to other people who knew him since this tragic news, it is the warmth and the positivity and the willingness to share that with anyone that endeared him so much to the fan base in Philadelphia. I mean, a lot of stories from, people that were fans of the Flyers, of running into him and just his willingness to engage in conversation and tell stories, and the sincerity with which he did so comes through in this interview. And that wasn't just reserved for us because he was on the InGoal Radio Podcast. That's how he engaged with all of his fans. And I think that is a big part of the connection beyond the performances on the ice. That is a big part of his connection with that community, at least talking to, like I said, a handful of people that maybe don't live there now, but some that lived there in the past, some that still live there. They all seem to have a story of personal interaction, and some just fans, not anybody that was, like on our side of the business or in the game or behind the scenes, just hockey fans, just Flyers fans. And they all seem to have a story about a personal interaction with Bernie Parent, and they all shared the same sort of memories of what he was like in those interactions. And I think that comes through in this interview, and I think that's just a large part of who he was.
I think for me, it's interesting that I respected him as a goaltender growing up. I can't say I was a Flyers fan. I was a Buffalo Sabres fan when Philadelphia beat them in the final. I respected Bernie as a goalie. I certainly was excited for the opportunity to meet him when we were able to interview him. But then I walked away with such respect for him as a person. Sometimes you meet a goalie and you're excited because they're a goalie to you. This was, I think, the first one where I just became a fan of him as a human being as a result of the interview. And it changed my perception of him. Not that I had a different perception of him as a person. I didn't really have one at all. I only knew him as a goalie, but I definitely walked away with a very different experience than I've had with just about any other goalie. I think Glenn Hall now was like that for me as well, because it was a personal face-to-face.
What was that feeling?
I don't know how to put it into words, but I've had this feeling for the last week that I don't want to overstate it and for it to sound absurd, but it's almost like we lost a grandparent in the family. You want to feel close to him as a human being. Other guys you want to feel close to because you're excited that they're a goaltender and you're a fan of them, and it's only natural to be a little bit in awe of some of these characters for what they've accomplished on the ice. Where Bernie, he's a human being you want to be with for who he is. And I think I had that same sort of feeling with Glenn Hall. But yeah, it's bizarre that a brief interview that we were privileged enough to conduct left me feeling like a member of the family is gone now.
Ken Dryden, just incredible accomplishments, but there was a status of Ken Dryden,
huge,
that you put up. And with Bernie Parent, it was more of you weren't talking to a Hall of Famer. You were talking to a guy that was just so happy just to discuss the game and tell stories and include you in the discussion, and just different personalities and how we view him. But I'm with you on that assessment of the grandfatherly type.
Can I share a story from, and he's been prominent in our recent podcast. He's one of our favorite listeners, favorite subscribers, supporter of InGoal magazine and InGoal Radio. Chris Matola sent me a note about Bernie Parent. He sent the image with the Blazers, the orange and yellow, and the white Bauer skates and the orange and yellow helmet. And he said, culturally, from a goalie standpoint, you cannot imagine how every local goalie lost their minds when Parent rolled in either the new Bauer white shell skates and a painted mask with the Blazers. Guys just calling each other on their rotary phones. Did you hear? It's just the way.
He's a writer.
Chris is such a great storyteller too. Like you hopefully I conveyed that with the right amount of it. It had me smiling as he sent that message. And another guy, not the only one, but another of many who I talked to that were fans from that area. They said it was not uncommon to run into Parent after he retired. Always happy to say hello or talk about hockey.
A couple of stories that I'll share after the conversation that we had with him in 2020. Interactions with Bernie and stories about Bernie that I was told firsthand. But let's get to the interview first this week. Brought to you by Sense Arena VR, and let's let everybody be able to enjoy this discussion that we had 5 years ago on InGoal Radio, the podcast, as Sense Arena, NHL Sense Arena brings us these wonderful conversations.
They certainly do bring us these wonderful conversations. We're so thankful for our partnership with them. As everybody knows, one of the things I love about NHL Sense Arena is the consistent innovation. There is always something new coming in your headset, with virtual reality training with NHL Sense Arena. And most recently, it is their new Game Flow module. It's under goalie drills, giving you nonstop action to challenge your mental and physical stamina. There have always been video shooters in Sense Arena where you face even NHL shooters if you would like, and you see the realistic shot coming to you. Now it is flow of multiple players on video in front of you, realistic scenario, guys screening you, having to face these shots repeatedly. They continue uninterrupted, shot after shot, and then they've got guys in the corner to pick up your rebound and fire it right back up into the action so it just carries on. They've got new shooters now in the game. It keeps everything fresh, even if you're one of the most seasoned goaltenders like our Kevin Woodley. You have to stay focused by tracking the puck and the puck's movement through the screens, from save to the corner, back out. It's just nonstop. It helps you simulate either a full period or even a game to build your endurance and prepare for your game days any day. It's a really cool new feature with continuous shooters, feels like game flow combined with screens and quick puck retrievals after you control the rebound to keep the action going. So check it out today at sensearena.com. And as always, use the code IGM50 to save even more. And as always, Kevin Woodley has one more thing to add.
Well, I mean, it's 50% off on annual subscriptions right now.
There you go.
Deal. Limited time, folks. IGM 50 is the additional $50 off. Limited time, monthly, annual subscriptions, monthly rate drops by half.
Number one for the Philadelphia Flyers, a Hockey Hall of Famer, a two-time Stanley Cup champion, a two-time Conn Smythe Trophy winner, a journey that was very unique to get to the National Hockey League, one that actually has a link to and connection to Ken Dryden, as we mourn his passing as well. We'll tell you that story after we replay, bring you the conversation originally aired on InGoal Radio, the podcast, back in 2020. Bernie Pront with Darren Millard and David Hutchison. Anybody of the era knows Bernie Pront's game. Any of the people that came afterwards know from the stats. But let's all dive into the very beginning, Bernie. How did you become a hockey player? How did you become a goaltender?
Well, my Lord, that's going way back. I think Moses was alive then. It's a long time ago.
Was he shooting on you?
Yeah. Yeah. I got to make a few stops. But anyway, I was about, a youngest of 7 kids living in Montreal. And I wanted to be a defenseman. Think about this. So when I was about 13, I had 2 brothers and the sisters, and I finally got the skates, all the way down. It was my turn, and I wanted to be a defenseman, so I put the equipment on. And then in those days, we played outdoor rinks, so you had to go around the rink once. And depending on your speed, then the coach would give you a position. So most of the players did in 13, 14, 15 seconds. Now my turn came. Wow, let's get ready, boys. And I did mine in 21 seconds. So the coach looked at me and said, goaltender. That's how I became a goalie. Now, think about this. The first game I played, because I had never played on skates, because we played in those days, people have to remember that the ice remained in the streets for 3 or 4 months in Montreal. They didn't have the chemical by then at that time. So I played the first game, and they scored 22 goals against me. So the coach looked at me and said, out of here, right? and I knew I didn't have good balance. So I decided to practice in the street with my buddies, put the skates on and play a goal. So 5 weeks, think about this, 5 weeks later, I received a phone call from the coach, and his goaltender got hurt. So he said, "You want to give it one more chance?" I said, "Sure." And we won the game, and bingo, then I was on my way. How about that?
Doing the math there, Bernie, you didn't start skating until 13?
No, that's right. And even in my prime, I couldn't skate. I had good balance. I had good balance. As a matter of fact, people keep saying goaltender has to be a good skater. Not really. What you need good balance. If you had good balance, then you have a good shot at it.
So how did it take the next step from 13 to the next couple of years, getting on the radar to place a little bit of junior?
Well, I played. Then I ended up with the team. How I got there, I look back. I don't really remember, but I got in with the Rosemont hockey team in Montreal, and then played for them for 2 years, and we won the championship the second year. Right, and things were going well. We had a good team, because let's face it, when you play well, it's because you have a good team. If you don't have a good team, then it's very difficult to play well. And then when I was 17, 18, then I got drafted by the Bruins, the Boston Bruins. And then it was very exciting, So and then I ended up in Niagara Falls. That was cool.
Did you like playing goal, or was it just that was your spot that you were assigned?
I loved it. Little that I knew at the time, it was my imagination, working, anticipating the shots, left-hand shot, right-hand shot. But I didn't have the foundation to realize what I was doing. But this is, in my mind, this is what I was doing. And I love outthinking, I guess, a shooter. Making the saves, the whole bit. Making saves, playing in goal is pretty good. You just stand there. You don't have to chase the puck all the time. It's a beautiful thing.
But it was cold outdoors.
Yep. It was cold. I remember my mom, God bless her, she would, in the outdoor rinks, it would pile up the snow along the boards, so people would stand, just above the board. And she'd be there with her big fur coat, the hat, the boots on. Never missed a game. That was awesome.
Oh, wow. It took great courage to play then.
Yeah. It's
the gear you were wearing and no helmets, and where did that come from?
Well, you know what? The gear, the equipment was supplied by the township. So you didn't have to buy it. It was it was given to you, while you played. And look back, was it good? I don't know. I guess it was. I'm still alive, So, but but it was here we go, guys. Before I went to Niagara Falls, I missed a lot of days, school days, because I was on the ice practicing, and that was my vision. And I think at the time my vision was to play in the National Hockey League. And when you have a vision like this, then you're willing to do anything, And I remember my mom taking me to the teacher at that time, and the teacher looked at my mom, looked at me, looked at my mom, and said, "I'm sorry, but your son doesn't have a chance in life." So true story. Oh, no. Oh yeah. Oh. And then later on, was a fairly young guy. And then later on, I got a chance to show the 2 Stanley Cup, and I said, it's like Einstein said so many times, imagination is more important than education.
You had to battle through a couple of things then. Between that little bit of news and then the coach cutting you after the first game and being assigned, like you got through a couple of bumps.
Oh yeah. And think about this: when I got drafted by Boston, then I was, like I said, I was 18, and I had to go to Niagara Falls, which was a farm team, and I couldn't speak English. And I remember, picking up my suitcase, went to the train station by myself, and I went to Niagara Falls. And many times, people have asked me, "Why did you go to Niagara Falls? You could have stayed home and could have done something else." And at that time, I said it was more powerful at that time. I said, because my vision was to play in the National Hockey League. And I shared this with young kids, because when you have a vision like this, it pushes you to go through a lot of things to reach your goal.
Your hero growing up as a goaltender was?
Jacques Plante.
Yes.
Jacques Plante. I watch him play every Saturday night, at home, and was just awesome. And the beauty about him was his sister lived next door to us in Montreal. Okay. And I remember once every summer, one time he would visit his sister. They have a big convertible, big car, and he would come in. I'd be sitting in front of the window of my house, and I watched him. He would come out of the car. He had the big hat on, a cigar, and he walk, we would walk, towards just his sister, which is just incredible. What a beautiful thing. And then think about this. You're talking about how life, when you have a vision, life will provide you with great opportunities to make it happen. And then when I got traded 2 years with the Flyers, I got traded to Toronto. And that's when Plante was playing, and it was a blessing. He turned my career around.
How did he do that?
Well, they first of all, I asked him, because I watch him practice, I watch him play, and I said, "My Lord, it's you're right there. You're watching him sitting on the bench," and I said, "Man, you're so good." I said, "Can you teach me?" He said, "Sure." So what I learned from him. Basic was at times I was doing this, but I wasn't aware that I was doing it. If you have a left-hand shot versus a right-hand shot, how do you position yourself? Always position yourself where the puck is, not where the man is, because the man will see the opening, but the puck won't. If you play that way, it's a beautiful thing. And how each defenseman, you have 5 or 6, how they play certain players, how they play a left-hand shot, how they play a right-hand shot. Then it helps you to anticipate better as far as making you move and be at the right place at the right time.
Did he help you technically as well?
Oh, yeah. They, talking about position, was very, very, very important. How to know where you're at as far as where the net was concerned. And then on the left-hand side, I was always fill the post with the left end. And if I was on the right side, I would fill the post with the butt, the end of my stick, and it would give me an idea where I'm at and where the play is. And that understanding of the game, which is just incredible.
It's remarkable that it sounds like it was the first instruction you'd received, and you're in the National Hockey League at that point. Yeah,
first time. And when I played for Boston, those 2 years started in '65. You have to remember we were in last place those 2 years when I was there, and we only had 6 teams. And then the average of a hockey player, the average age of a hockey player was older than. More of the late 20s, maybe 30. You had a lot of experience out there, so it was very, very difficult. And think about this: the first year, I went to a training camp for Boston, and I was 20, and they sent me to Oklahoma, the farm team, and in front of me they had Ed Johnston and Jerry Cheevers. So, in those days, you couldn't negotiate like you do now. So if you're not lucky, you could spend 10 years in the minors, not going anywhere. And that year, 5 weeks into a season, think about this, the 2 goalies got hurt at the same time. So they called me, and then I stayed up with the Bruins. How about that?
What would you do in the summer to prepare for a season as we sit here and get ready for a season in a unique time?
Fish. If you look at the players, you look at the games, even not as far, before I played, but even when we played, and you look at the speed and you look at the players today, there's no comparison. We were good, don't misunderstand me, but the speed of the players today is just incredible. So for us, what we did is we use a training camp to get in shape. How about that? Today they keep in shape the whole year round. But the difference is, in those days you make 25,000. Today they make 25 million. It's big. Yeah. It helps you to stay in shape. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you can afford a lot more fish after you're done instead of during your career.
No kidding.
Well, fishing has to help with your balance, which you said is the most important thing. I mean, standing up in that tippy boat, it's great training.
Yeah, it is. It is. I've always loved offshore, fishing. And to me is, think about this, guys. When you go out the inlet, you get in the ocean. On the other side, where land is about 3,000 miles away. So it's a big lake, and there's magic in that ocean. It's a beautiful thing. Love it. That's my passion. I love it.
And magic on the frozen water as well. When you stepped on the ice, what were you thinking? What was or did you have a thought process how you approached every game?
Well, it was pretty well the same, because I've learned from Plante again, and it became my approach. My philosophy is don't figure out what the player is going to shoot. Position yourself, and more likely he's going to hit you or miss the net. It's very, very important, because the players, they're smart players, National Hockey League. They'll change their minds the last second. And then you're in the wrong place, the wrong position, and then you have problems. Chances are they're going to score. But if you depend just on your style, then you move along with whatever the adjustment that you have to make, whatever the players doing with the puck.
Why didn't you take your mask off when you skated to the net and back?
Well, yeah, listen, look at this face.
Beautiful.
Yeah, you know what? I won't go in details, but I have to keep the mask on. Yeah. Life was good. Yeah, life was good.
Who was the toughest player to face back in the day? Which guys did you think about as they were coming down on you, whether it's practice or games?
Well, I'd say the game. Let's go with the games. And to me, it was Bobby Hull. Bobby Hull was clocked at 120 miles an hour. Think about this. Nobody has even, some guys have done 105, I think, or whatever, but nobody has done 120 miles an hour. And I remember him, I'm 20 years old, 21. And I remember him coming across the blue line. And that's the beauty about when you're young like this, you don't have as much fear, He would come, big shoulders, and would come across the blue line. And just between the blue line and the circle, he would wind up. And I looked at him. He looked at me. Then everything became in slow motion. It's just how powerful he was. Then I would put my catching glove in front of my face, and I'd say, "God, let him score, will you?" and you know what? Quite a few times he missed the net, hit that last behind me, and Glenn Hull had to make the save at the other end. So that was very dangerous. I'm very fortunate to be alive today. That's for sure.
Were you nervous? Were you confident? How would you describe your mental feeling during a game?
Well, during a game, I learned again from Plante to just concentrate on your system, and of course, I would say against better teams, then you concentrate a little bit more, which doesn't make it right, but that's the way it was, at the time. And it was, it was always, my focus was always the night before the game. I would spend, maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours thinking about different players, a different position, what they would do, where it should be, what I should be doing, and what to anticipate and stuff like this. I did my homework the night before. And then when the game came, it all came back, and it made the game much easier for me.
Were you a talker during the game?
Oh yeah. It's I've learned that from Plante again. It's very important. If the puck's in the corner, and you have a defenseman chasing the forward. And because a lot of guys are focused on that corner where the puck is. Well, I lean against the post, but I'm almost facing the front, and then I had pretty well idea where an open guy could be getting the puck, and then you communicate, shout to your defenseman, because, it's loud in that rink, and look behind you, somebody's open or whatever, and it really made a big difference. Yeah.
What about cracking jokes and things like that? Because you're a pretty funny guy.
Well, yeah. I think even in life, humor is very important, and you become what you think about. And I love to have fun in life, and my philosophy is, if something is not very funny, you let it come. Don't fight it. Let it come. Let it go through, and then start focusing on happy thoughts again, and that's that's what I did on the ice. We're friends. Let's face it. And I share this with kids all the time. You don't win in life by yourself. You learn this in sports. In my case, was hockey. If you're going to win, you're going to win as a team. It's very, very important. And in the world of business is the same way. So you learn some good basic things in sports that really helps you in the future, the business world.
Did you play whenever you wanted under Freddie, or was there a system in place there?
No, I would play, I think with Freddie, I would play like 70, 72 games, right? And Bobby Taylor would play, 6 games. The chief, we call him. We were good friends. Yep. We were good friends. And every time I went out the dressing room, the players would say, true story, they called me Ben at the time, Ben. And they say, hey, Ben, how many goals tonight? Depending how I felt, said maybe 1 or 2, right? And then when Taylor played, they would ask him, how many goals do you need tonight, Chief? He said about 7.
That's Bobby for it.
Oh yeah, it's good man, good friend, good people. Yeah.
What was Freddie like as a head coach?
Freddie was good. First time I met him when I got traded back to from Toronto to Philly. Freddie came up to me and always adjusting his glasses. If you recall, it's always that way. And he looked at me and shook his hand and he said, you know what? He said, I don't know anything about goaltending. You're on your own. Yes. Awesome. That was cool. Oh God, that was cool. But you're talking about then quickly, guys. When and I tell the young kids too, people take chances, which is called. I had a book that came out a few years back, Risk and Fear. Yeah. Now think about this. When I was with Toronto, this is when the World Hockey League came in. Okay, and at the end of the second season, I received a phone call from the World Hockey League if I was interested in joining the league, the World Hockey League. And I said, let me think about it. I thought about it, and I said, after a while, I said, everything I had learned from Plante, I said, if it doesn't work out, I'll come back to Toronto. Well, it didn't work out for different reasons. So I came back, and think about this. The risk that I took to go to the World Hockey League versus the safety of Toronto National Hockey League, which had been in existence for 80 years or 100 years or whatever, was a big risk. And but then when I came back, the same day, Toronto traded me back to the Flyers. And then I ended up with the team that won 2 Stanley Cup the following 2 years. Think about this. If I would have played it safe, I would have never been in Philly.
Or Leaf fans would be celebrating.
That's a possibility. Yeah, sure. I have. We had some good players, some good friends on that team. Yeah.
And you're still working with the Flyers today?
And I'm not doing much now with the Flyers. We just my concentration is on fishing. So,
well,
yeah. So now but it gets to a point where, and also, it's difficult to work with the goalies today. For me anyway, because the way we played in those days, today, I think you look at the equipment, and I'm so grateful we played when the equipment we had, because you had more mobility, to move your hands, your skates, or your pads, or whatever. Today, and you had to make the saves. And today, the equipment is so bulky, and they're great goalies. Don't misunderstand me. They're awesome, but they play a different style. They drop because they don't have the luxury to move the legs or arms around like we used to, because the equipment's so bulky. But the difference is, a big difference that I see is, in our days, when you make the save, you have better chance to control the rebound. When you drop to your knees, you're more like you're blocking the shot. And when you block the shot, then the rebound most of the time will end up in front of you. So it's a big adjustment. But like I said, it's a different time. And how would I work with the goalies in a situation like this? It's better to say thank you very much for the opportunity, good old Lord, that I had throughout my life, and it's time for somebody else to take over.
Bernie, I get more impressed as the years go on when I watch the clips, how you could make a skate save from 30 feet and be so dialed in on it. I just fascinated by it. So what went into that?
Well, I get more impressed myself too when I see it. Well, you know what? When I had learned from Plante again that as you play in goal, you always have. For me, the way I played was to have more weight on my right leg than the left leg. Then it allows me to move left and to move right more better. Because if I stand, if I put evenly the weight on both feet, then it's very difficult to make the move. Because you don't have the luxury to move side to side. But if you just concentrate on putting more weight on one leg, then it opens up everything. The movement is much easier.
Were you tough?
Oh, was I tough? I was as tough as my players were.
Then you were pretty tough.
That's a tough team.
Yeah. You know what? I got involved at one time with Dave Bell. Remember Dave?
Yeah.
Remember him, Dave? Yeah. And he corked me pretty good. And I said, you know what? I learned a lesson very quickly. I said, let the players do the fighting. And I had some good players to do that. So that was the end of it. Yeah.
Random question for you. After one of your cups, and I can't remember whether it was the first or the second, you wore the patches of the Stanley Cup on the sweaters that next season. Why did you do that? And was that a team thing or is that a league thing?
No, it was a team thing. Yeah, it was. And
I'd love for them to do it now. So I'm just curious.
Yeah,
to do it.
Yeah, they. You know what? It's. Hey, first of all, you deserve it. You win the championship. You win the Stanley Cup. You know what's a beautiful thing to have, and in addition to this, and it's a good reminder also that every time you put that jersey on, you're a Stanley Cup winner, and it gets you ready for the following year. So it's you know what, in hockey, especially in goal, it's such a head job. It's very, very important. And if you stay healthy and you do your homework, then and you have a good team, then good. Most of the time, good things will happen.
What was the hardest thing about playing goal in the 70s? What might a goaltender today be surprised about or find difficult?
Well, in the old days, I don't know. That's a good question. I would probably reverse the question to today. Today, the way they're shooting, here's an example. If I played, let's say if I'm playing a right-hand shot coming on the right side, just the middle of the circle, and he takes a shot. And if I'm playing the puck, because the defenseman I had, and we understood that when the guy comes down here like this, you play the man, I'll play the puck. Mm-hmm. Okay, so then more likely I'll know where the puck is going to go and I'll make the save. But if you only have, like in the old days, if I would give the shooter, let's say 4 or 5 inches above my shoulders, left side. 9 out of 10 times he would miss the net that hit me. And in today's world, the way they're shooting is, my God, 9 out of 10 times they'll score. They're very good today. I watch those guys, the way they're playing, the way they're skating, and the way the game is playing today. It's it's different. Quickly, we had 2 defensemen, okay, and the defensemen had half of the ice, okay, and each circle belonged to them, okay, and if the puck or the player went on the other side, the defenseman would stop, and the other defenseman would pick them up, right? Mm-hmm. But in today's world, you don't have this anymore. They're crisscrossing, and they're you're very difficult for a goalie to understand. That's why I salute those guys today, because it's not an easy job to play National Hockey League today. They're good. The players are good, but the system is a big difference.
It sounded like Freddie had a pretty good system, though. I mean, I got the sense that he was ahead of the game at the time.
Well, yeah, Freddie was, he had 2 rules. Number one is the team has a system and stick within the system. And number 2, which is very important, if you had the chance to escape and create a 2-on-1, then you didn't follow the number 1 rule. You went ahead and create that 2-on-1 to create a good opportunity. And also in practice, I'll never forget, defensively, we would spend about a half hour every day on coming out of our zone, and we had 4 different ways to come out, depending on how the team would forecheck us. Mm-hmm. And I could have sat on my net, with the gloves off and smoking a cigar, and wouldn't be afraid. That's how good we were, because for a half hour, every practice, that's what we practice. Yeah.
Hey, did you ever get that big hat and the convertible and the cigar that Jacques had?
No, because Plante is the king, and I came up underneath him, but Plante is the king, so he deserved the car and the hat. Yeah.
What was that appearance at the outdoor game like for you, to walk back out there again with the equipment on?
Oh, that was awesome. That was awesome. First of all, to get on the ice, and we practiced a little bit, but my God, what was it, 10 years ago? And to step on the ice. And at the time, the outdoors, we had like 45,000 people cheering. And that feeling that I had when I played came right back. Can you believe that? It came right back and said, wow, this is awesome. So I told the coach, I said, I'm going to play 5 minutes, and that's it. Okay, 5 minutes. So I'm watching the clock. We're playing, there's about 10 seconds left in the game. I'm watching the clock, and I have a shutout going. I have shutout because they were coming to me, with their shots. And I looked down again, and I said, my God, here comes Duguay on the breakaway. I said, like this. I said, Lord, what are you doing to me? I got 10 seconds to go, right? He comes down and shot on my pads on purpose. Think about this. And of course, the crowd went crazy, like I made a great save. And it wasn't a great save. He shot on my pads. And I asked him after, before the face-off, I said, why did you do this? Because I do, right? And he said, my God, he said, there's no way I would have gotten out of Philly alive, for God's sake, if I would have scored.
Seeing you out there and the mask is so memorable. But it was a simple mask, like the 3 stickers, and but it was you. Was that you? Like, just to have the 3 stickers, or?
Oh yeah. Well, if you look at the first Stanley Cup when we won in '74, we only had the and I'll show you here. I have the mask here behind me. If I could show you. There we go. Okay? Yeah. And now you have 2 stickers on this mask, okay? Now the 1974, when we beat the Bruins, I only had 2 stickers. In 1975, I had 3, one on each side and one on top now. So they and then the mask. There's a little quick story about this. The mask was made in Toronto, and so before practice, one day we're in Toronto for a couple of days, and this individual came in to set up the mask, and they have to mold it to your face. Okay, and then think about this. This it's funny now, but it wasn't then. And then they put 2 straws in front of your mouth, and then they cover your eyes. They have to do the inside of your eyeball, right? And then a couple of times, players would come in and put their fingers on the straw. Think about this. Then I would pull the thing up, and it took about 3 hours to get the mask on, which it should have taken a half hour, for God's sake. Oh, that was funny, though. Good guys. Yeah.
As you look back on the career, Stanley Cups, Conn Smythe trophies, Vezina trophies, what are you proudest of? What do you remember the most fondly?
Well, it's something you remember from the beginning, what we've talked about, and I think about this sometimes, and what took me from a 14, 13-year-old kid to be part of an organization and a team that won 2 Stanley Cups. And let's face it, when you win trophies like this, a Conn Smythe or Vezina, I'm very proud to have my name on those trophies. But, let's be realistic. You win in life with good people surrounding you. If you don't have a good team, you don't win those trophies. It's very important. But if you have a good team, and I have to say, you have a good goalie, good things happen. So when I look at my life today, I look at how this thing happened is I'm a good friend of the universe. Very, very good friend. And whatever you think about, whatever you're asking universe, it just ask. It's very important here to share this. Ask the universe whatever you want once. That's all. And make it big. The universe is just like the ocean. If you get a cup of water, you won't change the ocean. So whatever you want to have in life, make it big, and then drop it. And then how, when, and where will be shown to you at the right place at the right time. That's a beautiful way to live.
It is. I saw some video of you visiting the Children's Hospital in Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
And it made me wonder, you're so outgoing with the children. You didn't even give them a pause to want to talk to you. You just come and see me right now. Give me a hug. So open, so inviting. Did some of that harken back to your past when maybe you were a youngster and didn't have the courage to go up to Mr. Plante as he arrived next door to his sister's house, and you sort of didn't give the kids the opportunity to ever be too scared to talk to you, did you?
Yeah. You know what? That's you're right on with this, and with the children, hospital, the young kids. It's a beautiful thing when you come around and you put a big smile on the young people like this. There's no money they can buy this in the world. And my wife Jeannie does a tremendous job as setting things up like this, and it just is very difficult to explain, but it's a beautiful, so rewarding to hug a kid and see them smile. And like I said, there's no money that could duplicate that.
It's a great feeling. So is bringing in a tuna. How do you get into the fishing?
They when I was a kid, I used to fish in Canada. Lakes out north of Montreal, and then when I came to Philly, then I got introduced to the ocean, and that was right away. The first time I fished the ocean, I felt the magic in the ocean. That's a big body of water, and you see porpoises, you see whales, and you see mermaids, you see all kinds. No, but you see, it's such a beautiful place to enjoy yourself. And again, I learned from a pro, and how to read the weather, which is very important, and the whole bit about the safety of the boat and stuff like this. So it's all comes down to every step that I take, whatever it's fishing now or different things in life. There's always somebody who did it before, and you find out who did it, what you're after, and who was successful at it. And then try to talk to them or duplicate them in some ways, and usually it turns out good.
Would you have liked to have been part of the shootout in your day?
No, that was quick answer. The reason I don't agree with this, never will, is because you win as a team and you lose as a team, and then you play for 60 or 70 minutes or whatever as a team.
60 and then the 3-on-3.
3-on-3, and then the one individual get lucky with the shot or whatever and wins the game. I don't agree with that. You win or you lose as a team.
Pretty active on social media, pal. Yeah. My wife does a tremendous job, and it's a beautiful thing. Again, it's a team effort, and because let's face it, I haven't played for a while. It's been a while, and new generations came up, and if you don't go out there and present yourself or introduce yourself to the public, out of sight, out of mind, So it's very, very important to stay active, and she does a fantastic job. And you know what? And she's my agent, right? So she gets 40%. Now her mom gave her birth, so she gets 40%, and the dog gets 20%. So I get nothing. Yeah. Who's your favorite goalie now, or post play?
Well, you know what? A lot of good goalies have come along, but we have a fantastic young goalie today. A good combination. We have Hart and Elliott. Okay, there's about what 10, 12 years between them. Yeah, something like this, and there's no competition. So guys help each other, and you could see this kid when I first met him, and what is he, 6'1", I think, 175 pounds,
at least, yeah.
And I looked at him, and you could see in his eyes, that he's a winning goalie. They're going to win the Stanley Cup with him. Great goalie. Yeah.
Elliott and Hart reminds me of you and Plante in the age gap and being able to help each other.
It's just that I'm better looking than Hart, but we won't go there. Oh God, life is good. Huh?
Were there guys in your day, other goaltenders that you respected other than Plante?
Oh yeah. And when I played, or just watching, Yeah, no, when you played, either way. Yeah, when I was watching, they had guys like Glenn Hull, Terry Sawchuk and Glenn Comporsley, Rangers, and they were just fantastic goalies. They played every night. They only had 6 teams, and when I played, you had so many, like Jack. I mean, for an example, for the Rangers, I played all my career against them, and to beat the Rangers, you had to be at your best. So you're playing against great goalies; they bring the best out of you. That's a beautiful thing.
Would you take anything from the guys that you played against as you moved along?
Oh yeah, because I always said, I always believe that guys that are playing National Hockey League is because they have talent, and everybody has this one little talent that is above everybody else. Whatever it is, the way they handle the stick, or the way they play the angles and stuff like this, and if you get something from each of those players that you're playing against, then that adds up quite a bit to your system.
You are rocking it.
Who are you closest with on those teams in Philly, and are you still in touch with anyone?
I started the defenseman, was very, we joke and we had good times. But when the game started, we, it was business. And then you have Schultz, who took care of problems if we had one. And we had, in our days, I believe, we had the greatest leader in Bob Clark. That really made a big difference. So we, if you look at the puzzle here, we had all the pieces very well to win the championship. And
are you still in touch with them?
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, I take them out fishing. And also we had, I watch the games today. Watch a game last year, and when there's nobody in the stands, and I feel bad, because it's such a big, it's an important factor as a player, because you're just like a performer on the stage. When you go in the ice and you have 22,000 people cheering, that's you work hard the whole year to get in good position to have the home ice advantage. It makes a big difference. Now you're playing on an empty building, and it's got to be very, very difficult for those guys to overcome that. I know they are, but it's got to take a lot of work to do it.
A couple of things before we let you go. Which ring are you wearing?
I'm wearing both. You see, 74 on the right hand and 75 left hand. Now, let me tell you something about this. Bill Gates, you guys heard of Bill Gates, right? He's worth $100 billion. Okay, can't buy these. You have to earn it. But I always said, if Bill Gates wants to come up to me and give me $20 million for each one, it's yours, baby.
How did you
Let's hope he's listening.
How did you get into business? Was it a natural transition? Because you're pretty good, and you've got a lot of different things going.
Well, you know what? When I ended my career, ended by an eye injury, the Flyers were so kind, to give me a position with the team, and then became the goaltender coach. Which something I enjoy because I could apply. Share with the goalies what I had learned from Plante, and everything worked out well. And then slowly I evolved in the business with some with the right people, some good people, and it's been a beautiful journey. It's when you trust people and you go and you associate yourself with the good people, good things happen.
Hutch, can I just jump in here to close off the interview? Is Jeannie around?
Yes.
Is she close? Can she jump into the frame here? Because we want to thank her and acknowledge.
Of course. There you go.
As well.
There she is.
This is the first time we've done this.
Hi, how are you?
Jeannie, thank you so much for making sure that this happened. It's been just a pleasure.
Thank you. Listen, thank you. I was listening to most of it. It sounded great. You guys are awesome.
Listen, you're talking about a good vision. That's pretty good here, isn't it?
Yes.
What mermaids were you looking
Bernie,
for?
Don't wake up, Bernie. Don't wake up.
All right, guys.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much, guys. Thanks for everything.
Have fun. Nico, thank you, my friend.
We never did get to go fishing on the French Connection.
Oh, my gosh. Talk about regrets in life.
Renamed the Italian French Connection with Gina.
Yep. Talk about regrets in life. And the funny thing is people throw that stuff out, and I actually believe Bernie was genuine. If we showed up in Jersey, I think we'd have been fishing with him.
You were right on board for that.
Well, and I'm not a huge fisherman, but I'm on board with just being on board with Bernie. What a magical day that would have been. So maybe the two of us will have to go fishing somewhere, and Kevin can be our grandfatherly figure for the day.
So here's something strange that I didn't even realize until we learned the passing of Bernie Parent and put this together. But Ken Dryden, who we lost recently, and Bernie Parent were both originally property of the Boston Bruins in that time period. Is that not? And Boston ended up winning a couple of cups during this time period, so they weren't just left without anything. But how about that for scouting? Or it wasn't a draft back then, but being able to find talent.
Yeah, the two that got away. I mean, We praised them in the modern day for managing to pluck Tuukka Rask away from the Toronto Maple Leafs. But they lost Ken Dryden and Bernie Parent before that. So let's look at the whole body of work for the Boston Bruins. Brilliant scouting. I'm not sure.
And there's a Toronto connection. Ken ran the Toronto Maple Leafs.
He did.
As president. And Bernie was part of the Toronto Maple Leafs. And that's where the career turned under the mentorship of Jacques Plante. And was able to go back, went to the World Hockey Association and Miami Screaming Eagles, and they went bankrupt. They moved to Philadelphia after the Blazers experience. Bernie wanted to go back to the NHL, but didn't want to play in Toronto. And they found a way to deal him to his home in the Philadelphia Flyers. And right away after that experience, he became the Bernie Parent that we talk about with the back-to-back Stanley Cups and 3 straight championship series. His career cut short because of an accidental stick through the eye on the most innocent of plays. You can find it on YouTube. It's not gross or anything like that. It was an accident. He was hurt and left the ice, but it was the most flukiest, goofiest situation, and it cost him a lot of the sight in his eye and ended his playing career.
And those masks didn't have big eye holes.
No.
Although some of them would file them out and make them even bigger. And but he didn't. The other Jacques Plante connection, of course, is that mask was it a Jacques Plante fiber sport? It's certainly very close to it if it wasn't authentic. I think it was, though.
And you can count on one hand how many great goaltending the Philadelphia Flyers have received since Bernie Parent. Pelle Lindbergh and that tragedy. Ron Hextall was great, but that's it's few and far between for the Philadelphia Flyers. So here's the story. I was doing the expansion draft. I've told you guys this, but I'm not sure whether it was on the air or not. I was doing the Vegas Golden Knights expansion draft. Before I worked here, I was still at Sportsnet. I was co-hosting that at the NHL Awards back in 2017. And they always have former players there to present awards. So we'll go present an award, name 4 or 5 players for the Vegas Golden Knights in the expansion draft, name an award. Bernie was helping present the Vezina Trophy. And because I'd been out on stage, he came up to me behind the curtain and said, "Hey, they want me to say crap. I'm not going to go out there and say crap. I'm not." I'm like, "What?" So I look at a script and it's a playoff craps, a gambling joke. And I said, "Well, it's a gambling term, Bernie." And he's like, "I'm not going to say," and he said the word poop, but in more graphic terms. I'm not going to go out there and say that in front of all these people. And I'm standing here with Bernie Parent, and my first favorite goaltender was Bernie Parent. And I'm standing there, and he walks away. And I thought, screw this. I tapped him on the shoulder, grabbed him, and said, "You got a second?" And I flipped over my phone and took a selfie with him. And that's on my wall, along with a signed jersey from Bernie Parent. And I've always loved it. And I'm so glad that I put the ceremony and the job and all that kind of stuff of what you're not supposed to do aside, and just said, I'm getting a picture with Bernie Parent, the biggest smile on his face. And me, I'm smiling like the happiest person in the world.
Love
Great
it.
memory.
I love it.
By talking through
it
that.
means you haven't lost the passion for it, right? Like I know it's always slippery slopes now and what lines you're supposed to do and media this and media that. But when it's one of your all-time heroes and you have that opportunity, you take it.
And he talked to me first.
That's right.
I thought, everything. So here's the other great story. Don't know what year it was, but at outdoor games, they used to have alumni games.
Mm-hmm.
And this was the game in Philadelphia between the Flyers and the New York Rangers. And the alumni game, Eric Lindros was back in a Flyers uniform for this alumni game. Like it was a big thing. A lot of the Flyers Stanley Cup legends were there. And Bernie played. And I don't know, he was late 60s, early 70s at this point. Bernie was starting for the Flyers
in the brown gear and the fiberglass mask.
Everything. Like it was like goosebumps stuff. But before the game, Mr. Snyder went to the Flyers room Mr. Snyder went to the Rangers dressing room, and they've got all their legends there. I said, guys, thanks for coming. Appreciate it. This is great buy-in. 2 great franchises. It's going to be fun. You guys have had your battles in the past, but this is all about just putting on a show. And just so you know, Bernie is starting, and nobody scores on Bernie. And he walked out. So it was great. Nick Kyprios, my buddy, was playing in that game for the New York Rangers. So he told me that directly. The best part is Ron Duguay comes down and he lets loose with a good shot.
Yeah.
And Bernie comes up with a save.
Right on.
And 4 or 5 minutes in, Bernie goes to the bench and he did his thing. But Mr. Snyder, Bernie starting, and nobody scores on Bernie.
I love it. Respect.
Total respect. Even though Duguay, I'm not sure Duguay would have got out of there. Mr. Snyder would have been chasing him all the way down the corridor.
But he's Bernie. It wasn't going in. It wasn't going in. Come on.
You're right. Yeah. You're right. Skate saves, man. That guy can. I've never seen classic videos of a guy that was better at making skate saves. And we had John Davidson on 100% Hockey reminiscing about Eddie and Ken and Bernie. And he said the last of the true stand-up guys, like Richter was a hybrid back in 94. But Bernie was like his pads barely went above his knee,
Shin
right?
pads.
Barely covered the top of his knee. So he wasn't going down.
No,
yeah.
It reminds me of the conversation about the gear segment we're about to have. Looking at Brodeurs pads.
Indeed.
And how the new Heatons are a lot nicer because there's actually a thigh rise on them. I don't know how they did it back then. My knees would be just gone.
You're right about that. Let's get into our gear segment, brought to you by the Hockey Shop, source for sports Langley, thehockeyshop.com.
I should have said that's for last week's gear segment. This week's gear segment, we're going to take a look at Warrior youth gear, because this is the time of year when a lot of young goalies, maybe you've been trying the association gear, maybe it's time. You're gotten into the preseason, the association gear isn't cutting it. You find out you're actually going to get to be a goalie for the first time, full time. Mom and dad, what do I do? Well, first thing you do is you go to the Hockey Shop. We're going to outline why the new Warrior G7 is a great option for your young goaltender in the youth line. But we've talked a lot about different options over this summer. And so if now is the time, whether it's the gear we're about to preview or any of the other options, or if you're an association looking to update your gear, make sure you go to the Hockey Shop source for sports. Talk to Cam and his crew. I've been in there when they outfit the little goalies. It's cute, but it's also a place where they have a lot of knowledge. They understand the importance between gear that's going to make them feel safe, but still going to allow them to move. There are lots of different options out there. You can spend a little, you can spend a lot. And what I love about Cam and his crew is they're never going to steer you purely towards spending a lot if it's not the right thing for your young goalie. So if you're in the market for this, like I said, we got a great segment coming up on an option from Warrior, but also make sure you check in with their experts at thehockeyshop.com, at the Hockey Shop source for sports in Langley, to get the right gear for your young goaltender. They've got lots of options, and they'll make sure they get you something that's going to work for the little goalie in your life.
To the Hockey Shop we go with Woody and Cam.
Itty bitty. Golf. Should have had Hutch on camera today. This might have fit him. Ha, tough bounce. Said the guy who actually got his hand in the child's glove.
Tough bounce.
Yeah. Hey, listen, small hands. What can I say? Soft hands, though, Cam. Soft hands.
Well, let's get this ritual on the road.
With the Ritual G7, is this now? I always get confused. Youth, junior, what
Youth.
do we? Youth.
We are talking about the smallest of the small.
This is the smallest of the small.
Yes.
What makes this line? And it is a good time of year. If you're grabbing gear, your association set.
Maybe you're the equipment
doesn't cut
manager
it
of an
anymore.
association. Yes.
All those things.
Looking for
Welcome
some
back
stuff
to the
to buy.
Hockey Shop
Yes.
source for sports. A much delayed introduction because we were having some fun with the Warrior Ritual G7 youth line.
Yes.
22 plus a half on my pads.
Well, the
Cam,
ones that you have there, yes.
different sizes. Walk me through
yes.
what makes this one a good alternative, a good option.
Let's start with the pad first.
Look how thin that is.
So, when we're at this stage of the game, we are focusing on getting the goalie out on the ice, getting him comfortable, him and or her comfortable, associated with the position, ease of use, ease of play. That is where this pad comes in and excels quite a bit. I would consider it a little bit of step up from like some of the basic youth offerings that are out there. This gives a very, very easy to do up pad, step by step. I know at some point, like especially with the young goalie parents, there can be a bit of intimidation. There we go. With getting, your young goalie strapped up and set out on the ice. This makes it very simple, very straightforward, very workable, extremely lightweight, but still very, very functional. Things that carry over that are kind of like shrunk down. You still get that same flat face design. Nice.
Super thin face. So
correct.
Light, mobile,
flexible.
Yes.
So not 100% the exact same as what we would see on like the next size up or anything like that, but nice functional knee strap.
ARS is interesting on the toe tie. So rather than having to figure out toe ties,
just an easy
clip it through the
toe. So
boot of the skate.
I mean, the one thing that would be, for sure a highlight too as well is that there's going to be some still player skates at this age for sure.
Right.
So this is still easy to get around that first part of that holder of that player skate as well. But if you do make that transition to goal skates, which is ideal, still easily through the toe, clips right in.
Clipper in, one Velcro around the calf.
One Velcro around the knee.
Velcro around the knee. An extra strap, like basically built-in knee protection.
So an integrated thigh wrap. Ideally, we move into a knee pad, and if you do, you can still unlace this and get rid of it, which is perfect.
Oh, listen, I was kind of hoping they'd bring the thigh board back for the senior models, because that thing was a cheat code.
Moving forward.
You're probably too young to even remember a thigh board, aren't you?
You're just going
to ignore it because you don't know.
No, I just ignore it because of how bad they were.
They did the job.
Effect pad rotate. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So moving to the side of the pad, they do not have a plastic slide piece that Warriors become known for. But at the youth, that is a little bit excessive. We're most worried about getting, that child on the ice, getting mobile, starting to learn those fundamentals. Once we step up to the junior, that's when we get the slide plate.
Okay. Super light. What size range for the pads?
So 20, 22, 24.
Plus a half.
Correct.
All right. Gloves. Blocker. Super easy to close, which is so important at this age.
Yes. So gloves specifically, super lightweight, easy to close right out of the box. Very, very simple.
With some adjustability. So smaller hands, bigger hands. If the glove is a little big on you, chance to crank it down on the back, really get it fit tight. Got your finger stalls. Just an easy to close, easy to manipulate.
Most focus on having something that can operate and be fundamentally usable rather than having two blockers on the head. So, speaking of blockers, thin, lightweight, small adjustment, tight fitting hand, perfect for those young goalies.
Should we test if it fits on Kevin's hand? Oh, it does. That's not good for me. Okay, chest.
Beautiful. So, completing the line, Warrior does have their youth offering for their chest. Two sizes available, small, medium, large, medium, large. Second, adjustable arms, simple backplate design, easy to slide on, easy to fit into, very mobile as well, and giving enough protection for that young age. Great overall option. If you guys want to learn more about it and or talk about it, you can give me a call, 604-589-8299 or 1-800-567-7790, or check all of this equipment out at thehockeyshop.com.
I'm smiling. I'm normally Mr. Negative. I'm a little, chirping you all the time, but like the big smile because it's the itty bitty goalies. Like they're so cute. Like I'm picturing like a little itty bitty goalie in this stuff, and it's making me happy, Cameron. The next generation.
We'll end this on the positive then.
Happy Woody.
Do people ever walk by while you guys are recording those gear segments and create a studio audience?
Yes and no. We record them before the doors open. Every now and then we're struggling to finish up before customers start rolling in. But there are definitely employees that come and hang out and get involved. There's also careful editing happening because there are so many online orders to fill that there are employees running back and forth occasionally as we're filming, picking gear off the wall to stuff in a box and send off to somebody on the other side of the country. So yeah, it's a fun place to be when it's time to record. I do understand though, Kevin, that there may have been a Hall of Famer in the hockey shop this week. Not sure if he was purchasing goalie gear or not.
Yeah, and it wasn't the Brodeur statue either. This is
no, a real live one.
Breathing.
Mm-hmm.
Saw it on social. How about Jumbo Joe Thornton just casually dropping by and hanging out at the hockey shop? Maybe there's a youth tournament in town. I don't know if I don't know why he was here, but he was here.
Start a rumor. Maybe he's trying out for the Canucks this year. PTO.
There you go. They need a center.
Yeah.
And I bet he could still play. Listen, it just goes to show you that is the place to be. Like when you're in town, whether you're our friend Chris Matola coming up all the way from Los Angeles on a flight to buy gear, or people we know coming in from Calgary or the East Coast, making sure that any visit to Vancouver includes a visit to the hockey shop. We've got our Aussie coming back. He's good, he'll be here in town soon.
That's right.
He's gonna go check out the hockey shop, Source for Sports. Or if you just happen to be a Joe Thornton, legend of the game, you just drop into the biggest hockey store in town, and that is the hockey shop, Source for Sports. So hopefully they got it on social. Our friend Jeff Bada, who is a goalie coach coaching overseas right now, caught up with him this summer running some privates. He was at Connor Lecouve's camp and then doing some work with Paris O'Brien. He's the one that sent the photo out on social. His son was there and got a picture with Joe. It was pretty cool.
I would love a picture of Joe with a goalie mask on.
Just the beard coming out.
Yeah, just to see that thing.
He's so good. It's like hockey's equivalent.
He's got the size. He could have been a hell of a goalie.
It's the hockey's equivalent of the football player with all the hair flowing out the back of his helmet.
Yeah.
Goalie mask, everything coming out the front. That'd be brilliant.
Best long beard playing pro hockey in a goalie mask has to be Mark Dekanich, North Vancouver native. Remember he had the beard coming out like good 4 inches below the bottom of the mask.
Couldn't do it. I couldn't possibly do that.
I have like a short beard that I keep, and even that in long games starts to get irritating.
Well, just
is that what you call that, Woody?
The fit would
touch. Okay. 5 o'clock.
The fit would be weird. The chin cup, everything.
Yeah.
Woody, I'm trying to save you, buddy.
Sorry, buddy. I'm too busy taking the dig.
He's been growing that since he was 16. It still hasn't come in.
It's mean. That's mean.
Yeah.
Just because he can't grow a beard doesn't make you a bad person.
You know what? I watch him.
The problem is he can't see it because it's white.
That's
it's
true.
Like transparent.
That's true. I watch him dig into Cam every week. Somebody's got to go after Woody every now and then.
Now, Cam can grow a beard.
Cam can grow a beard on his legs.
Did you guys see the post? Logan Thompson is enjoying training camp with his summer goalie coach, along with the Capitals goalie coach. I thought that was interesting, and good on the Capitals for being open to it. Good on Logan for exploring it. I think there's a slippery slope there. Everybody can be their own judge. I was quite frankly surprised at it. But you don't see that very often.
No, you definitely don't. And listen, shout out to Justin Cardinal, who's the goalie coach. Let's make sure we get him in here. He also works with Aiden Hill, I believe, in the off seasons with the Vegas Golden Knights goaltender. So a goalie coach from the Calgary area who's had a lot of success with these guys and gets to be a part of training camp. And if there's anybody who's going to be open to it, it's going to be a guy like Scott Murray, the goaltending coach of the Washington Capitals. Like, he will, we know other guest coaches that he's brought in for training camp as well in the past. So good for him for being secure enough in his position to be open to it. Because you're right, Darren. It's not the norm for sure. It's definitely unique. And what's really interesting is times have changed a lot in this regard. Like, it used to be a lot of the times your private summer goalie coach also happened to be an NHL goaltender coach for another team. Like, that was fairly common. Wasn't that long ago that I know a goalie coach on the West Coast whose contract actually permitted him to be on the ice in season with teams in the Eastern Conference, just not with the Western Conference. Like things have changed in this regard, right? So, hey, maybe this is another part of those changes. We hear a lot over the years, whether it's from NHL goalie coaches or from the summer goalie coaches. I think of Cam Talbot's goalie coach, and I'm brain cramping on the name right now. why do I want to say Granger, but the dungeon that he used to go to, he always, whenever Cam switched teams, made sure he reached out to the goalie coach so that the work they did in the offseason fit with the focus that the goalie coach saw as maybe needing to be something that was paid attention to. And we hear a lot of goalie coaches that do the same with private goalie coaches the other way. Make sure that relationship is open. Make sure you're all on the same page. Make sure that everybody's speaking the same language, using the same terminology as you go through your summer. And maybe this is just an extension of that. So good on Logan for, going to bat for his guy in the offseason. Good on Scott for being open to it. And good on Justin Cardinal for approaching it in a way that, allows everybody to feel comfortable with it.
It tells me that everybody's on the same page.
Right. You hope
if you're going to do it, right? Vizual Edge Pro Reads, great segment over at InGoalMag.com. One of the great things I've been talking to a lot of people in and around the hockey world last couple of weeks between the rookie camp up in Denver and being at our training camp and in San Jose last night, and everybody raves about Pro Reads, brought to you by Vizual Edge on InGoal Radio, the podcast.
Well, the only reason they get to rave is because we have such great goalies that are willing to give us their time to go over the videos. And one of those goalies this summer, despite having a second child and being really busy running around with little kids, was Eric Comrie, who spent over an hour with us in August. And this week's Pro Reads focuses on sort of a couple different parts. It's a low-high play into the middle of the ice. So he talks about depth and what are the keys to knowing when you can take that ice. What would be some of your keys, guys? If you've got a puck coming out to the middle, coming out to the high slot, and you're coming off the goal line, knowing when to stop and set and choosing that depth, what factors do you think would matter the most?
Get in the middle of the net as fast as you can.
In terms of how far out you come.
Well, depth of the shooter, like where he is.
Yeah.
Traffic around you.
That's the one that Eric identified, knowing that the traffic was converging in front of him rather than off to his side. So if a rebound spilled away, there wouldn't be backdoor tap-ins. The other key that he talked about, and this was a great one because we talk a lot about patience and patience off the release. And we've had a lot of different goalies sort of identify their keys to it. How to develop it is a focus a lot of weeks in our pro drills and our pro reads. This week, Eric talked about their key to identifying it with Wade Flaherty in Winnipeg, how they sort of measure when their goalie's being patient. And that is whether they are dropping before the puck is off the stick or whether it's already off the blade before they initiate that. And Eric talked about that as one of his keys to patience and to tracking properly. So all of that is in this week's Pro Reads video breakdown with Eric Comrie of the Winnipeg Jets. And all of that is brought to you by our friends over at Vizual Edge. Pro Reads, Darren, I appreciate the kudos, and to everyone who shared them with Darren, is all about helping you see the game better, read the game better. Vizual Edge gives you the cognitive and visual tools to do just that. Whether it's diverging to see a puck coming at you with your eyes or converging to quickly scan the zone. That and so many other visual tools, visual sort of skills are developed using the Vizual Edge system. I'll turn it over to Jordan Bennington, who said, Vizual Edge has added a quality element to my preparation as a goaltender. I use the game day drills every game before heading to the rink. It's a combination of recognition, reaction, and focus that activates my brain and eyes to feel ready for what's to come. That is what Vizual Edge does for Jordan Bennington of the St. Louis Blues and Team Canada. You, of course, can get access to that same training, 10% off using the code INGOAL, INGOAL, all caps. And if you want to get 20% off, as an InGoal subscriber, you get that. Just click on the Pro Reads each week. And as a subscriber, you'll be logged in and get access to the 20% discount code. If you're not a subscriber, why not? That code alone will pay for your year's subscription. And I guarantee you what you learn from our Pro Reads will go well beyond that value as well. So make sure you check it out today. Pro Reads, presented by Vizual Edge.
What's the official term when puck's in the corner or off to the side and you're scanning the front of the net? Like head checks?
There's an official term.
Well, there's tons, like head look-offs,
scans. So I gotta get way better at that. But one area that what you're talking about right now with Eric Comrie would help. It's I'll follow the puck over, but I'm not moving fast enough. Like I got to get my body going instead of waiting, watching the puck and waiting for it to get to wherever it's going and going, oh, it ended up on a guy's stick right in front. I got to get over there. Got to make it all one motion.
Yeah, it's easier said than done. I had that happen on a couple of rebounds this week. I'm like, oh, there it is. Oh, and the guy chipped it back in when I didn't expect it. And it's like, oh yeah, I probably should have been there by now, eh? Yep. I think that delay between my brain and my body has something to do with the 52 years that I've been on this earth there. And I'm not sure we can fix that.
I say we just need more reps.
I'd rather you do it your way, Darren, where you're watching the puck and then you're going in and filling space, versus what so many young goaltenders do is move without first tracking it with their head. And then they're arriving on the scene where they know it's supposed to be. And now they're looking for the puck and trying to relocate it. There's this over urgency to get there. You can make a save. Frankly, you can make more spectacular saves your way because you're going in late with that arm to make the save on the puck. You know absolutely where it is, versus a lot of kids, they end up in position and you wonder why they didn't stop it. It's because they were late getting their eyes on the puck, or they leave the puck behind and then they're picking it up in their peripheral as they they feel like they've beaten the pass over, but they've lost focus on the puck at the same time.
Body instead of vision, moving instead of looking. And how many times, I'm not going to toot the pro reads horn because we've had two of them in recent weeks that emphasize the same thing. And we're going to hear a lot more from last year's Calder Trophy finalist, Dustin Wolf of the Calgary Flames. Everything he does is head first in his movement. Everything leads with vision. And the way he moves his head to achieve that vision, Darren, helps him bring the body along as fast as anyone in the game. And with arguably, and this is according to UC Saros, frankly, so it's his peers saying this, some of the best rotation of footwork and movement into angle early that we see in the NHL today, all triggered by not just looking early, but the way he looks at the puck as he moves.
Rotational footwork. I would love a session on that.
I have some rotational footwork. It's usually counter rotational and I fall down.
Well, I'm just happy that Hutch filled a void for me. Papa Hutch. It's almost like you're giving me a personal parent segment brought to us by Stop It Goaltending You, the app there, giving me some kudos on how I handle that stuff. The parent segment this week brought to us by Stop It Goaltending You, the app, dealing with just how did you phrase it? How to be better?
Let them struggle.
Let them struggle.
Let them struggle. Your kids need to struggle.
I don't do that very well.
Hutch would be a really good goalie dad for my skates.
My wife and I actually had the conversation the other day. It's hard to step back and let your kids struggle, whether it's jobs or school or sports.
And I need to give kudos. It is my wife, Jill, who came up with this week's subject. She works in the InGoal office now, and she thought this was something important to talk about.
Brought to us by Stop It Goaltending You, the app.
Stop It Goaltending You, the app. This week's segments, we get new content every week. I want to go over some of the highlights this week. The daily primers, quick 1-minute videos that you get, looks at focus, attitude, and energy. All things we can control as we head into our new hockey season. They've got a great goalie 101 with a tracking and skating warm-up video. So a great little quick drill that you can take on the ice to help your tracking, help your skating, help you get ready, whether it's for a practice or for a game. They've got video accompanying that one. They've got a butterfly push or recovery drill that you can take onto the ice in a practice situation to work on those fundamentals. And for funsies, they got a preview with predictions of the 2025-26 NHL season. All this week, all new on the Stop It Goaltending You app, where they bring you 25 plus years of experience led by Brian DeCord and the Stop It Goaltending team, all boiled down into a simple app that you can digest a couple minutes at a time, or when you've got more time, sink into their longer videos and their deeper dives. It's all an option. You control how much you put into it, but I guarantee you, if you put anything into it, you will come out on the other side a better goaltender. It's all the Stop It Goaltending You app, and of course, Best of both worlds, when you buy a subscription to the Stop It Goaltending U app, you also get an InGoal Magazine premium membership. So you get all their content, all our content, more than enough to keep you developing as a goaltender no matter what the age.
How to take a deep breath. Hutch.
Our son has struggled many times in his life. It wasn't this weekend, though, when they went 2-0 against your Brandon Wheat Kings, Darren, but we have let him struggle many times in his life.
You're gaslighting.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just have to. You might be able to come back at me in 2 weeks. Who knows? We'll see what happens.
Maddie sent me a couple of notes too.
Did he?
And I'm like, I told him I was proud of him. I was happy for him. I'm not going to cheer against him by any means. But
you're probably hoping for the 1-0 shutout win or something in the shootout.
But it would have been nicer than 15 against in 2 games.
Yeah, it wasn't really a goalie friendly score this weekend. Anyway, parents, I'd like you to look forward and think about what you would like your child to become in life, not as a goalie, but as a person. And I will bet that most of us would hope that one thing they will become is resilient. Life throws us so many curveballs as adults and as parents that we have to be able to handle. And one of the greatest measures of a person, many say, who will be successful, is that ability to persevere in tough times or when faced with hard tasks. They call it grit. The same goes for goaltending. Whatever you imagine their future might be in goal, the NHL, NCAA, junior, they are going to face adversity, and there will be nothing as a parent that you can do about it. There'll be teammates they don't get along with, coaches they don't gel with, long stretches on the bench or even in the stands, teams that trade them, injuries, tough games. Our children will not grow into that resilient person or that resilient goaltender if they don't get to experience struggle or even disappointment. They need experience to develop grit. Struggle leads to growth. So how can we help our children as goalie parents? In short, don't fix everything. Don't rush to step in. It's okay if things don't go their way. Don't complain to a coach when they're pulled or an association when they don't make the team they want. Not only will they lose the opportunity to struggle, I've yet to hear the situation where this has helped. Let me know if I'm wrong. Don't make excuses when there are tough games. Frame them by all means. That was tough. There were a lot of grade A chances and so on. But as we said before, don't blame. Don't pull them out whenever they feel unwell or even tired. Of course, I'm not saying to play injured, but I've met too many youngsters whose parents pull them as soon as they feel a little bit unwell. Sometimes we have to push through, even if it's uncomfortable. Don't help them avoid the things they dislike. Off-ice training that isn't goalie-centric, skills practices that, let's face it, aren't fun for goalies. The team run around the lake. Too many parents make excuses for their kids so they don't have to experience discomfort. Don't always look for the newest, best team, the best training. It's okay for them to play for a team that loses. Your team obligations may have to come before that other opportunity, no matter how fun it seems. I'm not saying the house league coach who insists they focus only on hockey is right, but if your kid's invited to something fun but has practice, the team comes first. So, as parents, when do we step in? Well, you're the parent and you know what your child can handle better than I do, but I would say look to see what they can manage. It's okay to help them manage and learn ways to deal with their emotions in a healthy way, but don't fix unless it's really necessary. If they're skipped in the rotation, it's not the end of the world. Maybe teach them how to ask the coach why it happened, but don't go yourself. But if they're put in a backup role as a child where equal play should be happening, well, that's different. Step in carefully. If a coach tells them they should be able to play when they're a little bit sore, that's okay. Help them get ready. Let them tell you their worries and reassure them, but don't pull them out. But of course, if somebody tells them to play when they're seriously injured or a concussion diagnosis or something, yeah, that's the time you step in as a parent. If they're cut from a team, I doubt you can fix it. Give them a hug. Maybe guide them in asking for feedback on what they need to improve. Tell them you love them no matter what, then help them get back out there playing the game they love. Our son was cut from the WHL in a year he expected to be there. That night he was on the ice with his U8 team back at practice. If they hate skills practices, don't tell the coach they have a test to study for. Help them frame the sessions and adapt. Just like last week's guest, Erica Howe, told us in giving us suggestions on how to make the most of those sessions.
Sometimes our desire to fix is really a desire to soothe our own pain as parents, seeing our children upset. But we need to let them struggle. Struggle leads to growth. It will help them as goaltenders and as adults. It's hard on us as parents to watch our kids struggle. I know that as well as anyone. Hang in there. I'm here if you want to chat. parents@ingoalmag.com.
How does your voice get deeper as you go into that?
I don't know.
I think letting your kids struggle would be easier for me in that team environment, like letting it play out a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a run to the coach type guy, or was never run to the coach type person. Not that it didn't bother me greatly.
Of course.
When decisions were made or our child was overlooked, but I can see why it's difficult, but I also wish more parents were better at it.
And I think as a parent, you have to think about what's going to happen as a result of you doing this. Like, I have not heard of a parent complaining about a tryout and then their child being suddenly put on the team. So it's going to make you feel better, but it's not going to help your child in this situation. And I absolutely know of children who have lost opportunities in years down the road because associations didn't want to deal with the parents who were difficult. I'm not saying that's right. I'm just telling you that's kind of the reality of the situation. So you need to be careful about what you're doing. Helping your kids struggle through it, giving them support, teaching them the skills to deal with that, not complaining, I personally believe is the better way to handle it. There are obviously exceptions to everything. And as I've said already, you know your child and your situation better than me. I'm just giving thoughts here, but that's the way I see it.
Woody?
I got nothing. I know how hard it is. I struggle with this all the time. Not even like, it's just hard to see them not even not succeeding, but just not getting the opportunities you think they should get, or not like, but there's nothing you can do. Hutch is right. There really isn't. Getting mad doesn't help. Supporting them hopefully helps. I get disappointed sometimes. Like, it's not even about opportunities. I get disappointed when they make bad decisions. When they about training, about eating, about health, and you've shown them all these ways and they still maybe take a shortcut or don't do the things that you think they need to do to give themselves the best chance. But even then, they have to learn the lessons themselves. Beating it into them isn't going to help.
I think that's a great point, Woody. That's not something I considered in putting this piece together, but it fits in there with letting them struggle, letting them make mistakes on their own. I came at this one this week from the perspective of not stepping in when other people had sort of control over what they were doing, but their own control and letting them struggle through that, I think, is equally, if not more important.
Yeah, it's because at the end of the day, they're not going to listen to me anyways.
And don't run around to other parents either. That also gets nasty.
Yeah. You don't run around in the gossipy sort of way of complaining to every parent, and it also ends up sort of putting down the other kids if you think your child belongs somewhere that another kid has been. I don't think that's a good look on you. I think
totally agree with that. I think
it's okay for us.
Totally deserve to be better than that kid.
But I think it's okay for us to have our own support group. Like if one of you guys had a child that had been through a tough time and wanted to phone up and have a conversation about it, that's not running around to other parents. That's not, I don't think, what you're meaning here, Darren. It's more just in the rink where you're just complaining about how unfair everything is. That it doesn't really help anybody. It brings everybody down.
And I've got a lot of ties to Brandon still on the coaching staff and within the organization and the city. And that was a tough one on the weekend. But if I was going to lose, and I had friends at the game that opened the season on Friday, and it was, if I was going to lose, I'm glad it was to Maddie. Okay, that was good. And I told Maddie that I was happy for him.
You're a good man.
And in the next breath, Darren says there will be money on the board for the rematch, courtesy of Mr. Millard.
No, I will never do that to Maddie. We got to fix our own game. and if Maddie's successful, good on him. And I'm happy for him. He won both games.
And he looked good in that InGoal magazine equipment too. Let me tell you.
Yeah, he can't get rid of that now.
There is another set on order. Yeah, there is another set on order.
The league is going to mandate that one, Darren. But yeah.
Well, we can alter it so if the logo's not as present, as long as he continues the good vibes.
The logos are covered.
like that.
The logos are covered as per league regulations.
Good.
Still a 6 setup.
Yeah. And I'm happy for him, Matty. I've never cheered for Moose Jaw, ever. Maybe once, but not too often. So that was a first for me. I wasn't cheering against
I know
him.
what you're saying. It's okay.
Okay.
I've been to many games.
And I did tell him I was proud of him, happy for him. He's grinded this out.
You guys sound like me watching the preseason game right before we started recording with Devin Levi on one end.
There you go.
And Jet Greaves on the other. And I'm feeling not like a parent, but having been there in Montreal when they met for the first time at the CCM event and watching that relationship really take off and how much goalie geeks they were. And they're perfect. Like, they're both so similar in so many ways. So watch them go head-to-head in the preseason. I didn't know who to cheer for. I was cheering for great saves. And boy, let me tell you, Degrees make a few. That's how I feel listening to
That's going to be fun to watch. His performance at the end of last year, how much does that carry over and give him the confidence to grab hold of this thing as a full-time NHL? It's going to be fun to watch. Our thoughts and obviously sympathies going out to Bernie's family, Gina and company. Also, Ken Dryden and Eddie Jockman. Let's hope it stops. We get a breath here, but it also does allow us to reflect and pass along some of our memories about what these guys did to pave the way in this wonderful position of being a goaltender in hockey. Thanks, gentlemen. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you next week on InGoal Radio, the podcast.